Supernatural is a 15 seasons long, epic story of two brothers hunting ghosts, demons, ghouls, haunted trucks, and other spooky stuff. And it's something that the Winchester family are famous for. Well, the ones who are still alive anyway. Sam and Dean go from town to town, meeting regular people in crisis, struggling to comprehend the idea that supernatural beings are real. These regular people are how we, as the audience, connect with our joint fear of the unknown. And there's a thrill in seeing how these two lads are going to save us from doom. However, just because these adventures are super scary, doesn't mean there isn't room for some comedy. And this show has a lot of funny moments to discover.
Listen, man, this is
With 327 episodes. Oh my god. This is the longest horror series ever, and at a certain point I lost access to watch the later seasons. But now the whole collection is on Prime Video, and as so many of you guys requested it, and have waited very patiently, it brings me great joy, and some anxiousness, to take on this monster of a project, and give you guys the complete recap of Supernatural.
Season 1, Episode 1, Pilot.
We go back to 1983, with a happy family doing their nighttime routine. Daddy Negan saying goodnight to his son Sam, as two baseball bats lull him to sleep. Not even really forcing that joke, it really is two baseball bats. Reminds me of the happy times. I'm not going to be annoying with this, by the way. I will be using his actual name, of John Winchester. Mother Mary sees John is taking care of Sam, but then she goes downstairs and sees that he's actually watching TV. The real John is awoken to the sounds of screaming, but there doesn't appear to be anything wrong. Just a few blood drops on the baby's bedsheets, and Mary stuck to the ceiling, bursting into flames. Older brother Dean rushes Sam to safety, and there we have some compelling backstory for the Winchester family. Fast forward to year present day, and Sam's girlfriend Amy is bugging him about not being in the mood for Halloween. He should be at least in the mood for celebrating, as he's just been accepted into law school. Law school's gonna have to wait though, as Dean reports that Daddy has been missing for some time on a quote-unquote hunting trip, which is code for he went looking for a spooky ghoul or some other supernatural being, and he could be in trouble. This is a life Sam wanted to be done with, wanting a normal life at school, and not to be consumed by the same obsession of finding the thing that killed Mum. But when Dean shows him the last voicemail from Dad, they decipher a ghostly voice.
I can never go home.
I'm too busy liking this video and subscribing. That enchanting voice you just heard came from this beautiful spectre, who despite clearly being a ghost glitching out, a guy picks her up like, damn, she fire though, I'ma risk it all. He tries to take her back home, but as it's been established, she can never go back home. And now neither can he. When the Winchester bros arrive on scene, they show us their signature role-playing, using fake IDs to get onto crime scenes, so they can poke around, ask questions, and come to their own spooky conclusions about what the hell went down here. Talking to some girls, they speak of a local legend of a dead lady who kills anyone who picks her up. The boys soon figure out that she wasn't murdered, she was self-murdered, after drowning her own kids, in hugs and kisses. I don't know how safe that topic is to talk about. They spot Ghost Lady Constance atop a bridge, and then eerily Dean's car starts while he still has the keys. They almost get impaled by their own Impala, but they just about manage to evade.
Hey, are you alright?
I'm super.
They end up finding Dad's motel room, but he's long gone.
I don't think he's been here for a couple days at least.
The next day, Sam goes to the next person of interest, the ex-husband of Constance. Turns out he was unfaithful to her, which led to the bathtub incident, and giving herself the old wee. While driving back to Dean, she jump scares him in the car. He refuses to give her a lift back home, and so she takes over the wheel. Sam doesn't fit the profile of her usual targets, as he's not unfaithful, so she turns into a spooky JPEG and tries to grind him into being a cheater. So he slams the car right into her house, forcing her to finally go home, where she has to face up to what she did to the kids.
You've come home to us, Mommy.
A pretty good spooky scene. And so the day is saved, and Sam returns to uni, where he can live out the rest of his education years in peace. But then, bam! Girlfriend on the ceiling. With this now being two important ladies in his life being burnt to a crisp, he says, okay, I get it now.
We got work to do.
Season 1, Episode 2, Wendigo.
Some kids are camping out in the woods, but when one steps out to urinate, he gets taken away by something. I'm guessing a Wendigo. As this isn't the first report of a boogie monster in the area, it was already on John Winchester's notes, so that's where Sam and Dean head to next to try and find him. This is the same pattern they follow for a while, so I won't repeat myself every episode to explain why the boys are heading to where they're heading. They go to the victim's sister's place, asking about the last time they had contact with him.
Could it be he's just having fun and forgot to check in?
He wouldn't do that.
Reviewing the brothers' video message, they see a shadow moving at supernatural speeds, indicating that this is definitely their kind of gig. This is confirmed by an old man who survived an attack many years ago, and no one believed him when he said it weren't no dang bear. The boys team up with the family and a local hunter and search for the campsite, where they find some tracks that indicate that their bodies were dragged away, meaning they may have been taken alive rather than being eaten on the spot. They hear someone calling out for help, but when they get there, no one's around. The Wendigo, then stealing their stuff, tells them they got their work cut out here.
What the hell's going on?
It's smart. It wants to cut us off so we can't call for help.
While waiting for the action, Sam expresses further frustration as to why Dad has them chasing his tail. Why not just pick up the phone? But Dean remains a loyal soldier, knowing not to question things and trust that Daddy knows best. Existing fans are about to be given PTSD hearing this next line of dialogue.
You know, saving people, hunting things. The family business.
They spam this line in the recap sections throughout the rest of the episodes in Season 1 and the majority of Season 2. Probably not an issue when it first aired, but binge watching it now on streaming makes it feel a bit like this. In the morning, we get some Wendigo lore, in that they were once humans who committed the sin of eating human flesh, and some cultures believe that doing so curses you to a long life with superior strength and speed. Oh no, what a tragic curse. They find her brother still alive in the cave, and just as the Wendigo is about to pounce, Dean gets his shot. The day is saved, and they hit the road.
Season 1, Episode 3, Dead in the Water.
A girl goes for a swim in the lake, but she feels very unsettled hearing spooky whispers. And I love the ramped up blacks and the colour correction, making this lake look like actual death. No surprise here, she gets pulled under, never to be seen again. One thing I really love about this show is how funny it is that every town they go to, they always meet an extremely attractive girl. This was kind of a TV trope of the era, and as tropes go, it's not one I'm going to complain about. They knew exactly how to appeal to teenage me.
You know, Sam, we are allowed to have fun once in a while. That's fun.
Sam and Dean meet with the town sheriff, his daughter and her son, the cliche silent kid character who has all the answers but won't reveal them until the story needs him to. I enjoy these kinds of moments, where Dean's charm gives him some fun interactions with the countless women he tries to flirt with throughout the whole series. Here, this Andrea lady scoffs at Dean, pretending he can't find a hotel that's only a few seconds away from the station.
Must be hard with your sense of direction. Never being able to find your way to a decent pickup line.
The ghoul in the water has taken other people, and they find out that the silent kid is traumatised having survived an attack. And Dean tries to get him talking, but we're only a quarter way through the episode. As the boys are investigating, we get a couple of cool death scenes, like this one here where the thing drags the guy into the sink, and we can hear more of its creepy whispering. and then it attacks Andrea in the bath, but because she's a main, she gets to live. They eventually find out that the sheriff and his friends have been covering up an accidental murder they committed when they were just kids messing around, and accidentally drowned the kid they were bullying, and he's been haunting this lake ever since. They rush to the lake seeing it's trying to take the silent kid, and honestly the ghoul kid looks super scary, making it the first time this show actually gave me the chills, and even on a rewatch I still feel it. The sheriff gets dragged down trying to say sorry, but Dean manages to save the silent kid. The daughter doesn't seem that shook up about losing her dad, being all smiles when she's thanking Dean and Sam at the end.
Thank you.
Season 1, Episode 4, The Phantom Traveller.
This was the first episode where I knew that I was going to be hooked into watching more, and I give thanks to my friend from my old job who lent me the season box sets from 1 to 6. So if you're watching this, Helen, thank you for introducing me to such a great show. In this one, some guy at an airport gets his soul taken over by a demon.
Have a nice flight, sir.
Oh, I'm counting on it.
And not long into the flight, he gets up and opens the emergency door. Dean gets a call from someone they saved a while back, asking for their help again to investigate what happened on the flight. After listening to the distress call, they play the recording back and again decipher a spooky message. I promise you that's how it really sounds. I didn't edit in my own sound here. That's really silly sounding. They dress as Homeland Security to get access to the wreckage and discover sulphur on a door handle, confirming that it was fiddled with by a demon. But they better hurry with their investigation, as the pilot who survived the crash has too just been possessed and is on his first flight back in the air, where just as before, the demon takes over. So this demon's going after all these survivors of the initial crash, and when the boys realise this, they try to get in contact with the flight attendant, but she's due on the next flight any minute, so they have no choice but to hop on the same flight. To find out if she's possessed, they have to speak the Latin word for Christ to trigger the demon inside.
Cristo.
I'm sorry, did you say something?
Cristo?
I didn't.
And their scanner only starts picking up something when it's near the co-pilot.
Cristo.
The attendant helps pin down the co-pilot, and they try to burn the demon out the boy's soul with some good old-fashioned Bible verses, but the demon just takes control of the whole plane instead. So Sam reads the verse louder and angrier to really get the demon to bugger off home. Last note to mention is that the demon mentioned Jessica, so Sam wonders if the demon world has his name marked for attack.
I know what happened to your girlfriend. She must have died screaming. Even now she's burned. Season 1, Episode 5, Muddy Blairy.
Some girls having a slumber party make it a dare to go say Bloody Mary 3 times in the mirror, but this doesn't appear to summon her. But then as we see her dad heading for bed, Mary follows him in the mirrors. The eldest daughter comes home to find Daddy all tore up. This episode doesn't dick around. The girl straight up admits to Sam and Dean about the killer being Bloody Mary, so they know what's up without needing to go digging around. Whoa, I better be careful guys. I've said her name twice now. I'm going to call her BM from now on to play it safe. An older teenager thinks this is all BS and says her name 3 times to prove a point. And yeah, BM's not too happy about that and takes over her reflection.
You did it. You killed that boy.
They discover that BM will only be summoned if there's a person in the house who's responsible for killing someone. They trace BM's story back to when she got murdered, and they see there's a mirror in her crime scene photos, and this mirror will be the key to stopping her. In one of the creepiest scenes so far, Mary appears in the reflections for Charlie. That's the girl's name who's a friend of the family, if you care to know.
Atomic ray. Stop it! What's wrong? Just calm down.
She calls the boys and confesses that her ex-boyfriend didn't handle the breakup too well and took the road of no return. So that's blood on her hands, I guess. They find the mirror from the photo and summon her to it so that she can be taken out for good. But she's pretty powerful and resists the attack well.
You killed Jessica.
Screaming. Burning.
For as scary as she is, when she comes out the mirror looking all stop motiony, to me it felt kind of cartoonish. They kill her by holding up a mirror, as she too is guilty of killing someone.
Season 1, Episode 6, Skin.
By far the most intriguing opening so far. Dean appears to be torturing some girl, and the cops come in to bust him. We then cut to a week back to find out how we got to that point. Sam gets an email from an old friend about her brother being arrested for a murder, but he swears that it wasn't him. Doesn't sound like their usual case, but she's a friend in need. She says it's impossible he did it, as he was at her place when the murder happened. She also says that his dog started acting weird and aggressive to his owner, like he no longer recognised him. We then cut to a rando guy keeping watch on a rando couple, and his eyes shine white, like he's playing the Nightman. What they're dealing with here is a shapeshifter. They follow a trail down into the sewers, where they find gross piles of decomposing skin, where the shapeshifter's been shed in its previous image. The shifter then makes a surprise appearance, and they proceed to chase it across town, but to no avail. But then we see that the shapeshifter is actually closer than we think. Sam figures it out when he catches the car keys in the wrong hand, so the shapeshifter knocks him out, and they wind up in the dank sewers all tied up. Shapeshifters don't just take on your form, they also take on all your memories, allowing them to easily take over people's lives.
You got to go to college. He had to stay home. I had to stay home.
He eyes up Sam's friend Rebecca as his next victim, leading us back to the opening scene where the police burst in on his plans. We then get an extremely gross scene where it retreats back to the sewers and starts shedding its skin. Too gross to even really show you, and it also has copyrighted music. So yeah, moving on. There's more shapeshifting that goes on, but I'm going to skip all that to get to the juicy fight scene where Sam's fighting fake Dean, because as you would expect, the real Dean joins in. And to pull off this kind of scene, having the same actor in two spots is always something to applaud if done well. In my opinion, the results aren't entirely seamless. I don't think the lighting here makes much sense, based on where the real Dean is supposed to be. But that's a nitpick, that didn't stop me enjoying the scene. Overall, a fun episode, but I'm ready to move on.
Sorry, I'm gonna miss it.
Miss what?
How many chances am I gonna have to see my own funeral?
Season 1, Episode 7, Hookman.
This is a fun one, giving us an almost cliche horror setup of a teenage couple in a car at make-up point, and she's like, "Hey, slow it down, hotshot, I'm not that kind of girl." And then they can hear the spooky scraping of a metal hook cutting into the car door, and when the teenage boy steps out to investigate, he gets disappeared. When the girl gets out, she finds her boyfriend hung upside down, dangling dead above the car. They pretend to be new frat brothers, so they can talk to the town students and find out about the girl who survived the attack, learning that she's the Reverend's daughter, who immediately catches Sam's eye. And after speaking with her, they suspect they're dealing with the Hookman legend, the haunting spirits of a preacher who was angry about the local ladies selling their bodies for coin. They dig up his body and perform their classic ritual of salting and burning the bones, which is supposed to force the angered spirit to fully move on from the living world. But then Hookman continues to attack. And they realise that his spirit isn't connected to his body, it's connected to his hook, which upon his death was melted down and reforged into a silver necklace that the Reverend gave to his daughter. So they toss her silver necklace into the fire, and that's bye-bye Hookman.
Season 1, Episode 8, Bugs.
This is the second lowest rated episode, seemingly because of how little it matters to the overarching plot of the series. And there's some people real pissed at the lack of attention to detail, like spiders being referred to as insects.
Someone likes bugs. My son, he's into insects.
And the shooting location being a bad choice for the story. I don't really know. All I know is I have a good time with this one. I don't mind the occasional break from the main story to have some silly fun times. I will say though, that the inciting incident is very laughable to look at, where this guy is supposed to be suffocated or maybe bitten to death by swarms of creepy crawlies. But it looks so unconvincing, it's pretty damn funny.
Travis, help!
Travis, help! There's a couple of friendly critters on me. I think one of them is dead. This deadly attack happened on a new build estate, so Sam and Dean pretend to be interested in buying the place. One of the realtors has a weird son who's obsessed with spiders and bugs.
Larry usually skips me in the family introductions.
Ouch. His first name basis with the old man sounds pretty grim.
Well, not exactly brochure material.
That evening, one of the realtors living on site gets scared to death by CGI spiders in the shower. I mean, that just looks awful, doesn't it? Where are they even crawling out from? That makes no sense. Wait, do I even like this episode? I sure am bitching about it a lot. The weird kid leads them to a spot where the bugs have been rapidly increasing in numbers, and they find a skull buried underneath the worms. They speak to an old Native American who confirms that this land they built on is sacred ground that the natives cursed many years ago when it was stolen from them. The boys call ahead to warn the lead realtor that if he doesn't evacuate his family by midnight, the bugs are going to come and kill them all. But he's like, nah, you crazy. The boys turn up just in time to get them all inside as the bees come a-knocking. The bees manage to break their way in, and the whole sequence of Dean fighting them off with a tiny little aerosol can flame, it's just as silly as the other bug scenes. Luckily, they manage to hold out until sunrise, which is when the CGI budget runs out, forcing the bees to exit the scene. So yeah, it's kind of a nothing episode, but I do enjoy it for how terrible it looks. And even when they're not using CGI, there's moments where you can tell they were using plastic spiders. Come on guys, what we doing here?
Season 1, Episode 9, Home.
Well, now we're getting some real development to the main plot. There's a new family living in the Winchester house, but even with the Winchesters long gone, the evil spirits here are still causing havoc. Sam actually senses this event in his sleep, and it's distracting him while Dean is talking about potential new cases. So they're going to need to go back home and see what's up. The idea of going back home is messing Dean up, as he swore he would never return. But they do feel compelled to save this new family if Sam's visions are to be true. The new owner, Jenny, invites them in, recognising them from the pictures she found. She admits this place isn't quite what she hoped for, with the faulty electrics, occasional rats, and the fire demon that torments her daughter. Dean tries once more to get in touch with Dad, leading a pleading and heartfelt voicemail, begging for him to show up and help.
I don't know if it's the thing that killed Mom or not. I don't know what to do.
The house haunter takes another victim when she calls in a plumber to unclog the sink. For some reason, her toddler son has one of those creepy clapping monkey toys that only ever appear in horror stuff. Like seriously, have you actually ever seen this toy in real life? Certainly not here in Britain, but maybe you Americans can verify. Anyway, the plumber's arm gets torn up by the food disposal thing. Again, not something we really have over here. In Dad's journal, he mentions seeing a local psychic, which for him, as we're told, is very out of character. But it turns out this lady is the real deal. She can sense things about people, and she does actually have a connection to the spirit world. She's a really fun character, adding some much needed levity to the dark themes of this episode.
Boy, you put your foot on my coffee table, I'm gonna whack you with a spoon.
I didn't do anything.
Well, you were thinking about it.
She knows about their history, but finds it odd that the house is still being haunted, as there hasn't been any activity there since the Winchesters left. Right now, there's some real goofy paranormal activity going down, as the spirit opens up the fridge and locks the toddler inside. But hold up, let's pause and take a look inside this fridge. Who the hell packs their fridge like this? With nothing in the middle, and all the shelves taken out. Clearly just did this to set up the scene, so that the kid can crawl in. That's ridiculous. Psychic Missouri Mosley comes back with the boys to find out where the spirit is hiding, and she reassures them in saying that this isn't the same evil spirit that took out their mummy. That previous haunting attracted a new kind of spirit. This time it's a poltergeist. Their plan of action is to hide some bags of spiritual herbs and junk in the four corners of the house, where they have to be buried in the walls.
Punching holes in the drywall. Jenny's gonna love that.
She'll live.
Naturally, the poltergeist is getting pissy, but they manage to get the job done. But they find out there's another spirit, and it pins Sam against the wall. When it approaches, he barks at Dean not to shoot it, because it's the spirit of their mummy.
Mom.
Dean. Sam.
Man not dead, just pretending?
She orders the evil curse on this house to let Sam go and leave for good, a command which also appears to release her spirit too. The episode ends with the surprise reveal that Daddy John was in town this whole time. He just can't meet with his boys right now.
You have no idea how much I want to see him. But I can't. Not yet.
Season 1, Episode 10, Asylum.
A very basic episode here, with the classic setting of an abandoned asylum. I say basic not in a bad way. This one I find to be good fun. Two cops are checking out the hospital, looking for any trespassing kids, as this is kind of a hotspot for it. One cop finds the kids, and the other cop gets chills feeling a spooky presence that sticks with him after they leave the building. And when he gets home, he shockingly murders his own wife. Dean gets a cryptic text that he believes to be a sign that Dad is okay, and this could be him giving coordinates for the next job, so that's where they're heading next. This sequence of them walking around the asylum is very unsettling, and I got kind of spooked by this twitching out patient. The dated visuals actually working in its favour, giving a kind of blurry grittiness. They find out that a riot happened in the asylum, where some angry patients brutally murdered their doctor. While the boys were out gathering this information, two more teenagers entered the building, naturally splitting up to make their experience more exhilarating, which leads us to this extremely creepy moment. That genuinely disturbed me. The boys bump into these teenagers, and as a foursome, they endure more creepy stuff, as you would expect. The reveal of the big bad doctor isn't very scary.
Don't be afraid. I'm going to make you all better.
Those vocals were way too clean sounding. He sounds like a genuine nice guy.
Don't be afraid. I'm going to make you all better.
There's a part where Sam's mind gets possessed, just like the first guy. But Sam takes a while contemplating killing Dean, where his love is almost breaking through the possession. Now the funny thing is, this gives us the implication that this guy didn't love his wife. Dean scuffles with the ghost doctor, but he eventually manages to burn his salted bones. The very end of this episode is great, giving us an abrupt cut after Sam gets a call.
Dad?
Season 1, Episode 11, Scarecrow.
A young couple break down in this quaint little town, and the lovely locals couldn't be more accommodating, giving them a free meal and fixing up their car before giving them directions to the freeway. But then their car breaks down again right outside an orchard, where they find a creepy looking scarecrow.
Check it out. If I only had a brain.
We wouldn't be lost.
Thanks.
They continue on in a hurry looking for help when it chases them down and kills them off camera. Dad calls Sam to check they're okay and explain that he can't see them right now as he's busy chasing the demon that killed Mum, and says it's not safe for them to be involved, leaving them instead with some names to look into for their next case. Sam rightly calls this out as ridiculous. Their whole mission is finding Dad, so why go on some unimportant side quest? He says that's it, I'm off to go find him. Dean, you can stay here and look into the Scarecrow stuff. Sam travels on foot looking to hitchhike, and he comes across another person looking to do the same. Her name is Meg, and she's going to be a surprisingly important person as the show goes on. For now, we say goodbye to her as she catches her ride out of town.
You're just Shady Van Guy and not me?
Definitely.
Dean's EMF reader's going nuts as he approaches the orchard, so he checks out the spooky Scarecrow and sees that it has the same tattoos as the guy who went missing.
Nice dad.
He overhears another couple whose car just broke down and finds it suspicious that they're being fed apple pies and getting their car repaired on the house. So when they break down in the exact same spot, Dean is there anticipating the setup. It turns out this town has a secret pact, where if they keep the Scarecrow happy by sacrificing people, they will always have a bountiful harvest. But as Dean figures this out, he gets captured and they try sacrificing him. Luckily, Sam figured out that something was up when he wouldn't pick up the phone, and so he comes to the rescue.
How'd you get here? I stole a car.
That's my boy.
Unfortunately for the townsfolk, the Scarecrow still needed a sacrifice. To lift the curse, they burn some symbolic tree, which I found to be a bit underwhelming as a solution. But hey ho, we press on. Sam ended up meeting with Meg at a bus terminal, and the two have become friends. But it turns out their meeting was intentional, as she's a non-human of some kind, who uses a bowl of fresh blood to make contact with the supernatural world.
I could have stopped Sam. Hell, I could have taken them both. Why? Let them go. Yes, Father.
Season 1, Episode 12, Faith.
An unusual start to an episode where they're in the middle of a hunt, taking down this zombie-looking ghoul called a Rawhead, which for whatever reason likes to kidnap kids. Dean tasers it dead, but did so while sitting in water, so he also tasered it himself into critical condition. The doctors estimate that with such a damaged heart, he's only got weeks to live. Sam's not going to let him die without having tried every avenue to rescue him, so he takes him to a faith healer, who's rumoured to be the real deal, and Rita is here to vouch for him.
Maybe God works in mysterious ways.
Maybe he does. I think you just turned me around on the subject.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Of course, the faith healer chooses Dean, and of course it works. But as Dean starts coming to, he sees something quite troubling. The doctor remarks how strange it is that Dean recovered from his heart problems at the exact time that another young guy died from a heart attack. His friend says that before the heart attack struck, he was seen screaming and running away from someone or something that wasn't there. Sam finds out this same situation happens every time the faith healer saves a life. Death can't be cheated. One in, one out. Balanced as all things should be, and what have you. What they're dealing with here is a Reaper, which is interesting because we typically think of Reapers as just taking people's souls, not being wrapped up in some dodgy exchange of life. He goes to heal Rita next, but Dean says no, don't do it, and when she ignores him, he starts a fire to cause an evac, which on the surface looks like a selfish ladder pull.
Why would you do that, Dean? I mean, it could have been my only chance.
He's not a healer.
He healed you.
Sam finds the next guy who's about to be Reapered, but the Reaper is invisible to Sam. What a terrifying idea. Dean catches the wife with some sort of talisman, so it appears that she's the one behind this deal with death. Later that evening, Sam finds a shrine with Dean's face marked to be the Reaper's next target, fittingly to be exchanged for Rita's life. But then Sam smashes the blood talisman, which breaks her deal with death, and so she becomes his next trade-in. This one ends with the solemn realisation that Rita's never going to be healed, even though she deserves it just as much as Dean. Damn man, she can't catch a break in this show either. This episode was great, in seeing Dean struggle with his beliefs in there being good, after all the evil he's witnessed. And when he offers to pray for Rita, we get this great line to end on.
I'm not much of a praying type, but I'm gonna pray for you.
There's a miracle right there.
Season 1, Episode 13, Route 666.
This episode sucks. Okay, not all of it sucks, but I'm sorry, there's no way you can make a haunted truck be actually scary. In this story, Dean gets a call from an ex-girlfriend whose dad just got killed by the ghost truck. She happens to be one of the rare ones who Dean trusted enough to keep their family business a secret, which annoys Sam considering how he was forced to hide it from Jessica. This Cassie lady is a local reporter who feels that the mayor isn't taking this very seriously.
Close the main road, the only road in and out of town. Accidents do happen, Cassie. That's what they are.
Turns out the ghost truck is connected to some hate crimes that happened back in the 60s, and the driver was never caught. So it's an interesting premise, and an unexpected bold choice of subject material that Supernatural isn't really known for, and I think they handled it well. But the big stinker of this whole thing is the ghost truck itself. Having it growl its engine like some kind of beast takes away a layer of mystery. And any and all mystery is completely removed when you notice the film crew, who in some shots are very visible. There's even one shot where you can see the stuntman driving the truck. Back to the positives, we see that Dean has a complicated relationship with Cassie, where his life on the road is preventing him from being with this person, who's clearly a great match for him.
In my work, I see some horrible things. I deal with them. But working things out with you?
I'm a scary one, alright.
Okay, back to the negatives. This scene where the truck's intimidating Cassie in her own house is so incredibly dumb. All it does is repeatedly rev its engine and drive around the house, seeming to pose no actual threat. What is closing your blinds gonna do? They pull the original truck out the lake and burn the driver's bones, hoping this will end it all. But the ghost truck is still here. The plan that ends up working is luring the truck to drive him back over the sacred grounds where a church used to be before the driver burned it down. And this method does the trick. Dean says goodbye to Cassie once more, and onwards they move.
Season 1, Episode 14, Nightmare.
Sam's having more visions of paranormal deaths. This time it's a guy gassing himself out with his own car locked inside the family garage. An opportunity for a rescue mission, but they arrive too late.
Why would I even have these premonitions unless there was a chance that I could stop them from happening?
I don't know.
This time they're dressed up as priests to show support to the grieving family, and of course to do some digging to find out if the man was cursed or something. However, everything about this house is squeaky clean. No EMF readings, no reports of spooky happenings, and they start to suspect that Sam's dream was nothing more than a weird coincidence. But then another vision happens where a guy gets guillotined by his own window, and as you guessed, they weren't able to save him either. After speaking with the first guy's kid, they realise he's troubled by a traumatic past, but he doesn't want to divulge that information too much to these two stranger priests. No bother, as his next door neighbour spills the beans on all the domestic violence that went down.
Used to beat the tar out of Max. Bruises. Broke his arm 2 times that I know of.
And then Sam has his next vision where the kid, Max, is seen to have telekinetic powers and is holding a knife to his stepmother, who he's angry at for not intervening when the beatings went down. They manage to arrive before the big nasty happens, and Sam pleads with him to calm it down so they can talk it through. And during this conversation, we get the interesting reveal that Max's real mum died in a fire in the exact same way that Mary Winchester did. So these two lads are connected by being tormented by the same demon.
Your abilities, they started 6-7 months ago, right? Out of the blue?
Max doesn't like dated memes, and he is still angry with stepmummy, so he shoves Sam aside and holds a CGI gun to Mummy and Dean. It doesn't actually look that bad for the time. Realising this pain will never end for him, he turns the gun around, and then nothing bad happens. He just gives himself a mild headache. They get to wondering why the demon has been giving random babies abilities after taking out their mother, or is them having abilities an unintended side effect of the event?
Season 1, Episode 15, The Bandit.
Some kid hears weird noises outside and sees a guy being pulled away underneath a car. They read up more reports of a dark figure dragging people away in this town, and there's about to be another, with Sam waiting outside the bar for Dean. We don't get to see the attacker, but when Dean comes out, Sam is gone. He manages to convince an officer that he's also a cop, and gets her to prioritise this case. She pulls the CCTV, where it shows a creepy van was recorded on scene. Sam wakes up in a cage neighbouring the first guy they captured. And yes, I did say they. We have a multi-kidnapper situation here. So it seems this episode has nothing supernatural going on. They intentionally set the first guy free, just so that they can hunt him down again for the thrill of the sport. When Dean and the cop are on the road, she pulls his badge number and finds out that he's been lying.
I lost some weight, and I got that Michael Jackson skin disease. Okay.
Officer Kathleen understands that he's desperate to find Sam, so she is going to help, but says as soon as they're done, he's getting arrested for impersonating an officer. She handcuffs him to the car so that she can go investigate this weird house, with a weird little girl answering the door. And of course it turns out this is where the whole weird kidnapping family lives. Dean manages to pick his handcuffs and go snooping around the weird house, but then he's spotted and captured too. You can probably guess the type of characters these turn out to be. You've seen the whole crazed hillbilly stereotype before.
Seeing the fear in their eyes just before they go dark makes you feel powerful alive.
There's really nothing else special that goes down here. They fight the hillbillies, they win.
Season 1, Episode 16, Shadows.
A young lady's followed home by a looming shadow. She manages to make it back and locks the door to be safe, but the shadow finds its way inside. They notice the blood spatter forms a pattern, but they don't recognise the symbol it makes. While sitting at a bar trying to make sense of it, Sam spots Meg a few tables over. We know this isn't by chance, and that she's some kind of witchy-woo voodoo lady, but Sam, who's none the wiser, is still into her.
What are the odds we'd run into each other?
Yeah, I know. I thought I'd never see you again.
Well, I'm glad you were wrong.
Sam does question if her being here is a coincidence, and so they should look into it.
Look, I could be wrong. I'm just saying that there's something about this girl that I can't quite put my finger on.
I bet you'd like to.
I love this show, man. They do some digging, expecting her to be using a fake ID, but her background checks out. They do find out that the symbol is an ancient demonic symbol that would only be used by an expert in demonology. After watching Meg undress with her blinds wide open, Sam follows her to a warehouse, where she's been using her blood bowl again to have a chat with her demon boss. The boys then discover that the victims from this area were actually not born here, and both came from the Winchester hometown of Lawrence, Kansas. So they conclude that Meg must be speaking to the same demon that took out Mummy Winchester. With the severity of this situation, they leave Dad a voicemail to give the heads up, and maybe if he's around and not too busy, he could swing by and help. They approach Meg, but she predicted their arrival and pre-ordered a demon to be ready for the attack. I should mention this type of demon is different from the one we saw before. This ancient type of demon is called a Deva. She's keeping them alive as bait for John, as that's who her master wants more. Sam gets himself loose to take the advantage, and quickly tips over her demon table so that she loses control of her demon summon. And that's the end of Meg? Question mark. When they get back to their apartment, they're greeted by the surprise return of Daddy John.
Hey, boys.
He almost took the bait, but held back seeing the boys were handling the situation. It's a nice reunion, where they take the opportunity to make up and get on the same page with their ultimate goal. But just as things are looking up, the Deva returns to break up the party, as Meg is still alive and controlling the Deva using her weird demonic pendant. Sam repels the Deva by making it too bright for shadows to exist. With them all bloodied up, they realise that sticking together is a terrible idea, as Meg was only able to track Daddy down by using his sons as bait.
This fight is just starting, and we are all gonna have a part to play. For now, you gotta trust me, son. Okay, you gotta let me go.
Season 1, Episode 17, Hell House.
There's a haunted house in town that people keep going into for a dare, not believing the stories about the ghost that resides there, who punishes intruders by getting them to become his new chandeliers. Story goes a farmer named Mordecai took out his own daughters, knowing that the famine was soon going to take them anyway.
Now they say that his spirit is trapped in the house forever. Signing her any other girl that goes inside.
While inspecting the house, they bump into these two paranormal investigators, and the boys take great pleasure in pretending that they're clueless about this kind of work.
EMF?
Electromagnetic field? Spectral entities can...
So have you guys ever really seen a ghost before? Or...
Once.
When they encounter the ghost, they're surprised by not being killed by the rock salt, and along with the phony investigators, they're chased out the house.
Sweet Lord of the Rings.
With the investigators promptly being arrested, as the cops have been trying to keep people away from this place. It turns out this Mordecai fella and the tragedy that took place was all made up by a local record shop owner, who along with his cousin got bored one day and dressed up this abandoned house with random old symbols. And unbeknownst to them, this particular Tibetan symbol harnesses the power to amplify people's beliefs. And when enough people read up about this fictitious Mordecai, the symbol conjured him into reality. They come up with a clever solution where they'll get the kids to change the website to say that Mordecai can be killed with an iron bullet. So when enough people read it, the story will become true. The investigators neglect to mention that their servers crashed shortly after posting the new story, so the bullets they've been firing are useless, leaving only one drastic solution left to try, which is to burn down the entire house.
That's a solution? Burn the whole damn place to the ground? I mean, look, Mordecai can't haunt a house if there's no house to haunt.
Throughout this episode, the boys have been playing pranks on each other, which made for some nice character building and some harmless juvenile fun.
You didn't.
Oh, I did.
Season 1, Episode 18. Something Wicked.
In this one, a scary looking ghost wizard is sneaking into children's bedrooms and putting them into comas, stumping the town's doctor. And so our boys are here to figure it out. The spot where this creature's hand was has rotted the woodwork, and seeing this gives Dean a flashback to when he last saw this as a kid. This flashback also serves as some lore building, where we can see how Dean was forced to grow up and take responsibility for Sam while Daddy was out hunting.
When's Dad gonna get back?
Tomorrow.
When?
I don't know. Usually comes in late though.
The creature is something called a striga, an Albanian folklore spirit that feeds on the life energy of children, but can also attack adults. Right now, it's attacking another kid, whose family just so happens to own the motel that Sam and Dean are staying at. The striga takes on a human form when it's hiding in daylight, and they notice that the doctor taking care of the kids is the very same doctor who can be seen in these photographs taken hundreds of years ago.
Well, nothing's more important to me than these kids. Just let me know if I can help.
I'll do that.
They use the other motel boy as bait to take out the striga, where they have to wait until it starts consuming his essence, as that's when strigas are vulnerable to attack. But they find out they should have applied a double tap, as this fella ain't dead yet. Okay, now it's dead. There was some childhood trauma tied into this striga, where Dean was looking after Sam and stepped out for a while out of boredom, and when he comes back he finds the striga about to take Sam's essence, with Daddy saving him at the last minute and getting really angry at Dean.
I told you not to leave this room. I told you not to let him out of your sight.
Kind of a dick parenting move there. These kids are your responsibility, and you should never be palming it off to the oldest kid, no matter what the reason is.
Season 1, Episode 19, Provenance.
A haunted family portrait that comes to life and kills people. I'm into it. While Dean was recovering from a hangover, Sam was busy checking out the victim's house, but found that it was totally free of a ghosted presence. If anything is haunted, it will likely be an object, like this painting. It was an auction piece that's been placed back on the market, ready to haunt another house. The auction house owner's daughter sniffs them out as not really being art dealers, but she does find Sam interesting enough to go out to dinner with him. Luckily, this woman, Sarah, doesn't care about Sam not being posh.
I don't know about Romeo here, but I'll have a beer.
And you? I think that too.
They break into the auction house to rip out the painting and set it on fire. but mysteriously it regenerates back in its frame. They need to go back to the auction house anyway, as Dean left his wallet there, and they're startled to see the painting whole again.
What do you know about that painting?
Not much, just that it creeps me out.
They realise the painting isn't haunted. It's one of the people in the painting whose spirit's connected to it and is using it as a gateway to attack its victims. They suspect it's the dad, as his position keeps changing.
Painting at the auction house, Dad is looking down. Painting here, Dad's looking out. The painting has changed, Dean.
They receive news that the painting has been sold again, and this poor old rich lady is about to get it. When they turn up, she appears to be alive, but then, when observing various versions of the painting, they discover there's another painting within this painting, and it's been changing to give clues about where to look next. I'm saying the word painting a lot. I'm starting to annoy myself, so I'm going to switch to say portrait. The next night, they see the razor and the little girl are no longer on the portrait, and they realise that even though the dad has been the focus of their investigation, it's actually the daughter who's the angry spirit.
That is just so wrong.
Dean is sent to burn the girl's doll that's above her urn in the mausoleum, as this doll was made with her hair, and once this is burned, it sets everything right again. Turns out the dad was pinned for a murder that their adopted daughter committed, and he's been trying to tell people ever since. A cool episode that I enjoyed quite a bit. Some people were upset that Sam and Sarah didn't become an item, but I don't personally care about that, so I'm happy to move on.
Season 1, Episode 20, Dead Man's Blood.
A man drinking at a bar gets spooked, seeing these young, rebellious looking types walk in. He runs back home to his hunting lodge, because he too is a supernatural hunter, and these rebellious people follow him because, as you might have guessed, they're vampires, who don't care to see him alive.
Boys, we're eating in tonight.
The boys read up about his death, and recognise his name as being one of Dad's friends. They find a message scratched into the floorboards, which turns out to be a lockbox combination, and inside they find a letter. But before they get to read it, Dad pops up from out of nowhere.
Dad, what are you doing here? Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm okay. Like I read the news about Daniel.
You came all the way out here for this Elkins guy?
Yeah, he was a good man. He taught me a hell of a lot about hunting.
The letter speaks of a powerful revolver that's famous for killing supernatural stuff, but the vampires have taken it from the cabin. We then cut to the vampires, pulling their devious tricks to bait in the next meal. Back in the vampire lair, we see they've kept some people alive for when they get hungry again, when they're not preoccupied in fondling each other. On their way to the rescue, Sam pulls them over and says, "Wait a minute, why the hell are you back, Dad? We agreed it's too dangerous to be together. So why is finding this gun such an important mission that you would risk your life to be around us?" And the emotions run high when they start blaming each other for abandoning the family.
You're the one who said don't come back, Dad. You're the one who closed that door, not me. You were just pissed off. You couldn't control me anymore. Stop it.
When the dust settles, John reveals the story of the Colt pistol, crafted for a hunter way back in the day by Samuel Colt himself. And this Colt was said to be capable of killing any type of being. John wants to use this Colt to kill the demon that killed Mary. The vampire stuff isn't super interesting when compared to the Colt story and how it ties into their mission, so we'll cover the vampire stuff quick. The boys get a jar of dead man's blood, as it's toxic to vampires. They then stage a broken down car, where the vamps get ambushed by the blood-soaked arrows.
Barely even stings.
Good time, sweetheart. Arrows soaked in dead man's blood. It's like poison to you, isn't it?
John makes the trade of giving back their vampire lady for the Colt, saying, "Don't panic, I'm not going to use it on you guys." But then they act a fool, and it forces him to demonstrate the power of this Colt. Sticking to his principles, Dad refuses them to be a part of the demon kill, not expecting himself to survive the final fight, and not wanting his sons to go down with him. He later admits how scared he is, and acknowledges that his boys aren't kids anymore. If they want to help get revenge for the family, that's how it should be.
You two are all I've got. But I guess we are stronger as a family. We go after this damn thing. Together.
Season 1, Episode 21, Salvation.
Meg walks into a church and says, "I've been a naughty girl. Sorry, it's just in my nature, because I'm a demon." The vicar runs into his gun room because he's secretly a hunter, but Meg busts in and says, "I'm gonna need your blood to find the Winchesters." Right now, they're following a trail of families who have all been attacked by the main demon. Main demon. With all signs pointing to the next attack taking place in Iowa. Sam having another vision, helping him to pinpoint the baby, who he'll need to protect somehow. Can't exactly be upfront about this kind of thing, as people would just call you crazy and call the police on you for being a weirdo. So he pretends to be new in the neighbourhood and taking a keen interest in babies, ringing 0 alarm bells.
Just take care of yourself, okay?
Yeah, you too, Sam. We'll see you around.
Yeah, definitely.
As if things weren't high stakes enough, Meg makes a call and declares war against the Winchesters, killing another hunter friend and threatening more unless they agree to give up the cult, ordering Dad to come alone to this random ass warehouse, and if he doesn't make it by midnight, the deal is off and there'll be hell to pay. Before John enters, he blesses the warehouse water tank to turn it into a big old vat of holy water. He hands over the gun to the demons, and the guy demon tests it out on Meg, discovering that John just tried to dupe them with a fake.
Never used a gun. How could I know it wouldn't work?
I'm so not in the mood for this. I've just been shot.
He makes a run for it through the basement, where he opens up the valves to create a speed bump.
Holy water, John. Real cute.
But he doesn't get too far. Back at the baby house, Sam and Dean jump into the rescue, and Sam finally comes face to face with the head demon, who's got these very unsettling, putrid yellow eyes. He goes for the kill, but the demon disappears. This whole situation has the boys very upset, as Sam was willing to risk his life by going back into the house and putting an end to the demon. But Dean says, "Hell no, you and Dad are all I have left." Dean opening up here, showing his feelings of torment and struggle.
Sometimes I feel like I'm barely holding it together, man.
The episode ends with Meg saying, "You boys screwed up big time, as we have your father."
Season 1, Episode 22, Devil's Trap.
They drive as fast as they can, praying that they've kept Dad alive. Problem is, they don't know exactly where to look for him, so they pay a visit to their close family friend, Bobby Singer, who teaches them about using a devil's trap, which removes a demon's powers if they step inside of it. And it just so happens that they don't need to go looking for Meg, as she's already here demanding the cult.
No more crap, okay?
But right now, she's in no position to make demands, as she stepped right into Bobby's trap. Bobby reminds them to go easy on her, as Meg is a real person. It's just that her body's being controlled by a demon. So instead of more punches, they perform an exorcism to get her to reveal where Dad is. Even when she does fess up, Dean says finish her. Again, Bobby steps in with a warning that if you do finish her, the host body will be dead. She fell out of a building. Ain't no way the human inside is still alive.
That girl's body is broken. The only thing keeping her alive is that demon inside.
Oh yeah, and she got shot. They do it anyway to put her out her misery. Miraculously, she's still breathing, but her body is entirely broken. She's able to give them one final clue as to where their dad is, before her body completely gives up.
Sunrise, what does that mean?
This clue leading them to the Sunrise Motel, which is a mixed bag of humans and demons, not somewhere they could just go into guns blazing. So they set off the fire alarm to weed out all the humans. They dress up as firemen to go in and locate Dad's room, armed with extinguishers filled up with holy water. A pretty good idea. They have a tough time escaping, having to carry a semi-conscious Dad, but they make it out alive. When they get to a cabin, they sense that Daddy's acting a bit strange, and that's because the yellow-eyed demon possessed him.
We've been looking for you for a long time.
Well, you found me.
But the holy water.
You think something like that works on something like me?
Instead of killing Sam and Dean on the spot, he toys with them emotionally, wanting to prolong their suffering because they've killed many demons who are spiritually his children. Jeffrey Dean Morgan doing a fantastic job here, playing a demonic version of John.
Because I really can't stand the monologuing.
Funny. But that's all part of your MO, isn't it? Mask all that nasty pain.
He then gets to work tearing at Dean's flesh, ready to make the final kill. But John breaks through for the briefest moment to allow Sam to get the gun and apply a non-fatal wound, keeping Dad alive and weakening Yellow Eyes. But it still has hold of John, and he begs for Sam to put a bullet in his heart and finish the mission. But Sam doesn't have it in him to kill his own dad. On their way to the hospital, we get a very surprising ending to the season, with a truck ramming them off the road, where we see a demon was sent to finish the job. I mean, we know he hasn't, and the boys are gonna live, but still, this is a shocking way to end the season. How the hell are they gonna survive this? This series feels so right for the channel. It feels good to talk about, and revisiting it has been such a joy. I'm going to try my absolute hardest to make sure I do it justice, so that if you've never seen this show before, I can convince you to go watch it for yourself. If you're not certain, stick with my recap series until at least season 5, because at that point you'll have seen enough cool stuff where you should be convinced it's worth your time. Anyway, I'm taking a look at the screen right here and feeling blessed to have such a lovely fan base, where some of you who are in the position to support me through Patreon and channel memberships. There's some cool behind the scenes stuff that you unlock by doing so, and there's plenty more coming your way. Click here for season 2 if it's up, and have yourself a wonderful day.